Welcome to Michelle's Podcast News, your daily update on what's happening around the podcasting community of companies, technologies, and partnerships. I'm your host, Michelle Tandler. Let's dive into today's top stories. Edison Research has just unveiled the top 25 podcasts in the United Kingdom for the second quarter of 2024. This list is based on reach among weekly podcast listeners aged 15 and older. It's always exciting to see which shows are gaining traction and which are maintaining their stronghold in this ever-evolving landscape. Making their debuts in the top 25 are some interesting new entries. The Overlap with Gary Neville climbed to the number 24 spot following the launch of its new season in late March. It's fascinating to see how a fresh season can invigorate a podcast's popularity. Another newcomer, The Rest is Entertainment, quickly gained momentum after its late November 2023 launch, securing the number 17 spot. This rapid rise indicates that the show has struck a chord with listeners, and it will be interesting to see how it continues to perform in future rankings. Just One Thing, with Michael Mosley, landed at number 20. This is particularly poignant as the unfinished television version of the series is set to be released by the British Broadcasting Corporation following the passing of host Michael Mosley. It's a testament to his enduring impact on the podcasting world. Meanwhile, Call Her Daddy continues to rise in popularity, reaching the number 22 spot. This reflects Alex Cooper's growing influence beyond the United States. It's a great example of how podcasts can transcend geographic boundaries and build a global audience. For those interested in the methodology, Edison Podcast Metrics is unique because it does not rely on podcast download data. Instead, it surveys at least 2,000 weekly podcast listeners in the United Kingdom each quarter. This approach allows for a more comprehensive understanding of listening behavior, regardless of the platform used. The same methodology is employed in both the United Kingdom and the United States. Subscribers to Edison Podcast Metrics can access detailed show-level information on the top podcasts in the United Kingdom. This includes demographic, psychographic, and purchase behavior information of weekly podcast listeners. It's a treasure trove of data for anyone looking to understand the podcasting landscape better. Edison Research has been tracking podcast consumption since 2006 and released its first top podcast shows ranker in the United States in November 2019. Their long history in the industry lends credibility and depth to their findings, making them a trusted source for podcast metrics. Labor leaders are raising their voices about the impact of technology on workers' rights, and the latest episode of the SAG-AFTRA podcast dives deep into this critical issue. Released in honor of Labor Day 2024, the episode revisits a panel discussion from the 5th Labor Innovation and Technology Summit, which took place in Las Vegas on January 9th and 10th. The summit, hosted by SAG-AFTRA in partnership with Unite Here and the American Federation of Teachers, brought together industry and labor leaders from across several sectors. The goal was to discuss the future of labor in an era increasingly dominated by technological advancements. One of the standout moments of the episode is the panel titled Workers' Rights in the Age of Tech, moderated by AFL-CIO President Liz Schuler. The panel featured notable voices such as SAG-AFTRA Executive Vice President Linda Powell, Unite Here President Dee Taylor, and AFT President Randy Weingarten. Their conversation highlighted technology as a pivotal issue for workers' rights. Throughout the discussion, the panelists delved into how technology is reshaping the labor landscape and the essential role that unions must play in helping workers navigate these changes. They emphasized the importance of ensuring that workers have a seat at the table when decisions about technological implementations are made. As Dr. Taylor succinctly put it, "You're not going to stop technology. The question is, are you going to be at the table?" The episode also includes an introduction by SAG-AFTRA National Executive Director and Chief Negotiator Duncan Crabtree Ireland, who set the stage for the discussions that followed. His remarks underscored the significance of the summit and the ongoing efforts to address the challenges and opportunities presented by technological advancements in the workplace. For those interested in exploring more, the podcast notes that other panels from the 2024 Labor Innovation and Technology Summit are available on the SAG-AFTRA website. These panels cover a range of topics, all aimed at equipping labor leaders and workers with the knowledge and strategies needed to adapt in a tech-driven world. You can catch this insightful episode on the SAG-AFTRA podcast by subscribing via Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Overcast, Pocket Casts, or TuneIn. It's a must-listen for anyone interested in the intersection of technology and labor rights. The Asheville Police Department has just launched its very own podcast, making it the first city department in Asheville to do so. The podcast, named APD Pod Squad, is hosted by Public Information Officer Rick Rice and aims to provide a closer look at the department's activities, officers, and community initiatives. Rick Rice, who has spent over 30 years in radio and over 20 years on the air in Asheville, brings his extensive experience to the podcast. Rice has been a familiar voice at local sporting events, serving as the public address announcer for the Asheville Tourist baseball team and the Asheville Smoke hockey team, among others. His deep ties to the community make him an excellent host for this new venture. The APD Pod Squad will feature a variety of segments, including officer profiles, cold case investigations, a community outreach calendar, and a segment called Ask the Chief, where Chief Mike Lamb answers questions from the community. Each episode will run between 30 and 40 minutes, providing ample time to explore these topics in depth. New episodes of the APD Pod Squad will be released every 2 weeks and can be found on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. The department encourages listeners to subscribe, share the podcast on social media, and spread the word to friends and family. This podcast represents a significant step forward in community engagement for the Asheville Police Department. By offering a behind-the-scenes look at the department's operations and initiatives, the APD Pod Squad aims to build trust and transparency with the community it serves. Whether you're interested in law enforcement, community issues, or just want to know more about the people behind the badges, this podcast promises to be an informative and engaging listen. That wraps up today's episode of Michelle's Podcast News. Thank you for joining me, and be sure to tune in tomorrow for more updates from the podcasting world. I'm Michelle Tandler, signing off.